Hey ladies and brave gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Life Advice You Don't Hear in Church. If you're new here, my name's Tiffany and today we're gonna talk about singleness. I remember being in my 20s and thinking all my single friends are dropping like flies. They are all getting married, and yet here I am, still single, and I really wanna be in a relationship. Have you ever felt that way? If so, you are not alone, and there are a lot of reasons this can happen. Some of those reasons are totally outside of your control, but there are also some things that can keep us single that are within our control to change. And I want to talk about 5 of those today. By the way, this video is inspired by a brand new video course that James and I made just for you. If you are a Christian single woman between the ages of 18 and 30, this course is for you. It's called Updating the How-To Guide for Christian Singles. It goes through the essential habits you need to set up in your life right now to set you up for a healthy relationship down the road. It goes through 10 hurdles that might be keeping you single. These are things that you might not even realize you're doing, but they will totally impact your ability to get in a relationship and keep a relationship. And lastly, how do you get a date? Where do you meet people? How do you start a conversation? We walk you step by step through it. So you can check that out at the link below. Use code VDAY23 for 20% off your order. It's good through this weekend. But let's get into 5 things that have kept me single and might be keeping you single. And number 5 is a doozy. Reason number 1 that could be keeping you single is you don't know how you're coming across. I remember when I was in my 20s, I was so afraid of rejection and so afraid of being hurt again, like I had in the past, that I didn't want anyone to know I was interested. I didn't want to come across as like, I'm interested, and if they don't like me back, then I'm rejected and other people might notice. And so I kind of came across like very confident, but very closed off to a relationship. Even the way I walked and held my arms and the way I pointed my face, it all was sending the message of like, not interested, don't want to stop for a conversation. Even if I really liked somebody, I wouldn't let on. That definitely kept me single because people had no idea if I was interested in them or not. And it was a huge hurdle for me. So what do you do instead? Be approachable. Practice smiling and making eye contact and slowing down a little bit. Having this open posture, communicating that you're open to a conversation and maybe there's some interest there. One of the hurdles we talk about in our video course is UOP and RBF, which stands for unaware of presentation and resting bitch face. And we talk about how to undo those so that you can come across as approachable. Thing number 2 that could be keeping you single is unrealistic expectations of what to expect on the first date. For those of you who grew up in the kinds of Christian circles that I did, there was this idea that you should already kind of know if you could see yourself marrying someone before you even dated them. It was like, only date somebody you could marry. But guys, how do we know we could marry someone if we don't know them? And for a lot of us, we're not starting to date our best friend. Some people do, but for a lot of us, a date is with someone we don't know very well. And someone can put on a great front and seem like an amazing person, and then when you get to know them, you see who they really are, and that doesn't always line up. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So I like to say, James and I like to say, you can't know if someone's the one for you until you actually know them. And that requires dating. It's easy to write people off too quickly and ask all the right questions too early in a relationship, asking the right questions at the wrong time. And so one of the things we talk about in our course is how do you figure out if you have shared values with a person, and when do you ask those questions? What do you look for on a first date versus later on in the relationship? Thing number 3 that could be keeping you single is you're not sure where to meet more guys. How do you expand your network? How do you get FaceTime with more guys or girls or whoever you are, like how do you meet those people who you might be interested in? And that can be tricky. One of the things we recommend doing is expanding your whole network. So not just going to places to meet a prospective significant other, but looking to expand your network in general with different friends. And you never know who has a brother or cousin or son or sister, like who you never know who knows who. And so you want to expand your network in general, as well as be in places where there could be prospective singles that you might be interested in. We have a whole list on our course of places that you could go to and things you could get involved with to help you expand your network and meet someone. Thing number 4 that could be keeping you single is that you have some blind spots. We all do. We all have blind spots, areas of our life, issues we need to work through that might be holding us back. and we don't even realize it. And I am not saying, I hate the message that if you're single, it's because God's working on your character. That is not what I'm saying here. God will work on your character in every season of life, whether you're single or in a relationship, no matter what's happening. What I'm saying is there could be things that are actually other people are noticing, and they're like, it's almost like I'm not super interested because I see this big issue in their life, but you might not even be aware of it. It might seem normal because of how you grew up. Or here's one example of that for me. One of my blind spots is that I was coming on real desperate. I was thirsty for a relationship, and everybody could tell. So people didn't think I was interested in them. They thought this girl just wants a boyfriend. They were right, but I needed to work through that desperation to be at a healthy place where I liked myself and I had solid friendships. And yes, I still wanted a relationship, but I wasn't like smelling desperate anymore. And that was a blind spot for me that I didn't realize was keeping me single. We all have blind spots. That's why we have to live in community and work through our issues in community with people we trust. And here's number 5. This was the biggest one, hands down the biggest one for me, was that my fear because of my past sounded like the Holy Spirit. Yeah, I remember writing off so many guys because as soon as I would be super interested in them, as soon as they seemed too interested or like they might want to make it official, I would ghost them. I wanted nothing to do with them anymore because I literally felt like I was going to throw up at the thought of seeing them again. And I thought, this must be the Holy Spirit protecting me. This must be God showing me that this isn't the person for me. In reality, it was my past trauma and hurt. There's a trauma therapist, Kobe Campbell, who says, is it the Holy Spirit or is it your trauma? And I think that's a very important question to ask ourselves. I'm being triggered right now. This fear is being triggered because of something in my past or how I was raised or other relationships I've observed. Or is this actually the Holy Spirit convicting me that this just isn't a good fit for me? If it keeps happening over and over and over, like it did for me, I'd encourage you, talk to somebody you trust. I went to my pastor's wife and said, is this normal? Should I be feeling this way? Is this God protecting me, or is this like an issue I need to work through? And she's like, oh girl, you need counseling and prayer. And so I ended up meeting with them for a long time and healing from a lot of those issues. And that made it so when I got in touch with James, I could actually pursue a relationship. I could push past that initial fear and pursue being with him because I'd worked through some of those past issues. So we talk about that more in the course as well. But that number 5, man, that one was me to a T. But I'd encourage you, take a look at these 5 things. And if you want to dive deeper into how do I set myself up for a healthy relationship right now, what hurdles might be keeping me single, and how do I actually meet people and get a date, and what do I talk about on those dates with conversation starters that actually work, then check out our brand new course linked down below, Updating, the how-to guide for Christian singles, and use code VDAY23 for 20% off this week only. I love you guys. I hope this can help. You got this. Bye.